What up, everybody? Scuffy here, and I am here to avenge and to punish with brand Nev. So it's only been a couple days since the Vanguard update. I think that was on the 19th. Maybe it was on the 18th. It's all a blur. Was it on Saturday? Today's Tuesday. Tomorrow, as the White Scars reveals. I've got those at, I think, 1 o'clock Central Time. That's 1800 UTC time. So if you're looking forward to those, check it out. But I did the Corax video because Corax is familiar to me, and I wanted to dive in, test them out. I'm feeling good about it. These results here, these games played, victories for both Corax as well as Nev, is just off of following the update, so these are new. Nev took a little bit more for me, and I'll kind of explain the reason why, but I think I found a comfort zone with him. So first off, I played a lot more games with him, as you can see here. I mean, I played like 5 times as many games with Nev to try to get him to work. I had a little bit of a patchy start initially, just a little shy of victory on a few games, but also some very obvious holes to me that I wanted to figure out how to fill and adjust. And then after doing so, I found a lot more success. And it's not top tier. It's better than it was. It's fun. And if you want to try something different, it definitely has the potential. If you are a combo player, it is a combo deck, combo concept. The Vanguard in general kind of are, but Nev more to the extreme. So first off, just a little disclaimer. So Nev, I mean, I played him a little bit in events, a little bit in practice, way back yonder, but he's a warlord that I really, actually most of the Vanguard, aside from maybe got a little bit more games in with Shero Cannon 6, I suppose, than Nev. Nev for me is like the forgotten son, which is one reason why I wanted to really dive into him. Because I had Corax very early on. I picked him up in a crate and I played Corax if I was playing Vanguard. So I never really dove into Nev. Nev at one point had high initiative. Nev at one point had several tools that worked better than they still do now. And he kind of wavered and waned, and you don't see him too often. However, that's not to say that he isn't good. You know, we've got some games here. Some of these are, you know, against various odds and ends, but they're not bad. They're not bad results. So I liked them. I like the games. I like the way they played out. I'm gonna kind of show what I've got going on here. We'll try to play a few of these games here so you can kind of get the idea. But one thing I learned, obviously, I mean, it shouldn't be something to learn, but I was surprised that the dynamic is how Nev is so different than Corax, and not just in terms of ability, but like the order you play cards with Nev matters a lot more. And you need to, some things that you normally play at a certain point in a game, you need to play at a completely different point in a game with Nev. So it does change not just your mindset with regards to the warlord, but with regards to your Vanguard cards. So I didn't opt for Raven's Talons. Why? Why didn't I opt for Raven's Talons in this matchup with the Vanguard versus Alpha Legion? Well, really simple. I want to put bodies on the table against Alpha Legion, regardless of what kind of threat that he poses. The biggest threat that you can do to an Alpha Legion is to put bodies on the table. Playing cards from hand is great, being able to sneak attack is great, but the sooner I can put bodies on the table, that's important. It's even more important with Nev because so many of those bodies are combo oriented, combo based. Now, I have used Torvik Squad. These guys used to be better. These guys used to apply sentenced 2 as opposed to sentenced 1. And way back, like their day 1 release, there was sentenced 2 until your next turn. So you could put that on an opponent's warlord, and then if they attacked with their warlord, they would still have that sentenced effect. Right now, we're just kind of using a couple cards here to ping, drop some health down. It's not a maximum Fury from above, but it's a good Fury from above. And then I'm going to use that Shadow Walk to heal and keep that Torvik alive. Blows a little card on my hand, and helps me get that out there. Now we're at 5 energy already. When we get to 9, he's got the ability to single-handedly wipe my board with heroin, because it's very low health. Raven Guard in general are very low health. But he gave me a tool here. He gave me a sleeper operative, and that's a bad idea on his end. That's a bad idea on his end, because with the sentenced combination, I can do more damage. He's been drawing my high-cost guys. I don't need those high-cost guys, really, in this game too much to put pressure on. I need my sentenced combinations to make the most of it. You know, giving me additional tools to ping him with is not a good thing for him. I'm going to do everything I can here to maximize the value of that and to bring his health down. Now, if he didn't have this Dravian Clade out there, I probably would have dropped Torvik Squad especially first, just to really maximize that. But right now I'm just putting bodies on the table, right? There we go. Making that little go away. So putting bodies on the table. I can take the 6 from Draven, and I've got bodies, I've got flanking, I've got more shadows to follow it up with. He didn't get rid of all my troops. He had to take a little hit there. That's okay. I can deal with that. I've got both ways I'm going to be able to follow up here and eliminate his troops, continue to put more pressure on his board. Torvik Squad is another fast card. These guys work. I haven't squeezed them into my Corax yet, but I might. They work definitely a lot more so with the Raven Guard, with having that Shadow Walk, as well as Deliverance, being able to heal 2 after you play them. They still have health after an attack on a warlord with 2 attack, or 3 attack, and then you can heal them. They can go back into the shadows. But these are very important in combination with sentencing troops, because you can sentence, drop these guys out, hit for 2, get the extra damage for 2, so on and so forth. And I'm going to go ahead and just right here spend a little bit of time building board, burn a couple cards from my hand. If he wants to hit me with a heroine and kill that one guy, he can, but it's not going to be a good exchange, and he knows that I've still got Dark Fury and Dravian Clade in my hand. And maybe he's thinking, oh man, he's going to put that guy down. And he's got Joker Company. So that's a good card for him to have. It is a good card for him to have. Won't deny it. Won't deny it. But with 9 energy, I can still work pretty good. And I've got a decent amount of health to work with. But what I'm doing here, and this move specifically, I am pressing his hand. He has got a couple tools on board. But now he's got 6 health. He's got no way to survive my troops. He's got to deal with both my troops. And he's got to give up a heroine or any sort of stun attack. He's got to use those troops to take out my guys. He doesn't have a choice, right? So he's done his dirty work there. This here is just a little bit of top deck luck, but I think I would have played it just the same. I probably would have thrown out a Dark Fury instead, or maybe a couple little cheapy guys, more Dathan and the Torvik. But that just really kind of sealed the deal. Now if he heroines, there's no way he can win. He can't kill that Cades, and then my Cades can single-handedly ace him, or he can try to double up with Orphans, one of many. He doesn't have one of many, so that's just kind of how he's going to end the game here, is in this state where he's got, okay, well, maybe I'll just hold you out. I'll stun everything. You won't be able to do anything. I'll get your health low. It's not going to be enough in conjunction with the Rain of Fire and that Death from Above. That is going to do all the work I need it to do. Just being able to have that sentenced down there and put the additional heat on, ping him, lower him low. I can either do Torvik, I could do the Death from Above. The end result is obvious for him. It was a good game. Not bad. A little bit to kind of show how the pieces have to be on the board to play. I'll show one more game, and then we'll kind of go into the deck, and then maybe do another game after that. Roll to Rome was a good game. There was a mirror match. This was a good mirror match. Raven Guard versus Raven Guard, right? Javelin Speeder, good card to keep. I'm going to keep that Scimitar. I feel good. In your Nev decks, you want to have Numis Squad, if possible, in your starting hand. It makes a huge difference as a starting card. The same goes with being able to follow it up with Corvidaean, and maybe not even using that ability. You run a huge risk there, and we'll talk about the weaknesses of Nev and the deck. But it's really important. Nev's ability, I don't use it that often, but it comes in play, especially early game, if you can combine it with a Numis, just to do that extra damage, but you're drawing that card and you're getting more tools into your hand to effectively combo. And as I said, Nev is a combo warlord. He is a combo piece, so you want to have those pieces in your puzzle. You don't want to burn out of cards. You don't want to be looking for what you need. You want to be able to have the tools that you need to really put the pressure on your opponent, build the board, and bide your time. So being able to get that out first turn, even just one time, 2 times in a game, being able to use that ability, it makes a big difference. It really does. Once you get the Raven's Talon on, it becomes a little bit different. Your dynamic changes at that point. You're not paying the 2 energy. You're just hammering out and dealing the free attack. One thing that I would like to find a way to do, I think Nev would benefit from a drilling site, just having that extra 2 energy, and because he can draw cards, he may not be at a bad exchange there. But I don't know if that's perfect for him. I think that might take away some of the tools that he needs. He needs these tools to be in his deck, and it's hard when you are a combo deck to give up a particular piece. It's very hard to give up a particular piece of your deck. So we've got that 6 energy, that key energy is when you bring in more Dathan, and at this point we're testing his hand. Does he have a Javelin Speeder or not? If he doesn't have a Javelin Speeder, well, there's one of them, right? We're good to go. Give ourselves a little bit of time. Okay, we've still got lots of other tools. We've still got Mortis, anything else that we're drawing, and we've gotten rid of his big heavies on one of our decent size exchange, so that's a positive for him, but it's still a positive for us, especially in this matchup when we know that he's got a second one of those at some point. Can we bait them out? Can we make it work? The answer is yes, we can. And having that, having the Solero bikes, they're easy to throw out. You know, you might think, oh, I'll just throw these out at 4 energy, or 6 energy because I just put out a troop. You really want to put them out there with Nev when you have Sentence, and that's hard to do at times. That's very hard to do, but you do want to look at it that way. Think about it that way. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a little bit unusual because I'm giving him a tool back in his hand, but it's a tool that I believe I can deal with. It's one that I believe I can put a little pressure on, bait him out. I'm going to throw this guy out here. I'm going to make him think, okay, well, I'll just throw down my big 5 cost again and deal with it. And he does, but he costs 7 that time because he costs 2 extra energy. So he loses any momentum he could have gained, and that allows me to put down not just 1, but a second card if I so choose. I think I'm going to go ahead and do I Deliverance here, or do I Torvik? I Deliverance. And that's going to give me a little bit nicer setup here. I do like to use Deliverance more when I've gotten a unit that I've attacked with, but I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel bad about it. And then that baits out his big heavy, and then after I take this big heavy out, I think he must not have had anything else in his hand at this point because he kind of gave up. He played his big 5 drops. He played his 9 drop. He played one of his speeders. I still had all my stuff hanging out there in my deck and a couple pieces in hand ready to set up, so it was good. So Nev decks, this is a little different. There are some cards in here that are similar. There are some cards in here that are similar to the Korax deck. There are a couple cards that are a little bit different. Number 1, I don't have Hidden Run in there. I don't have Hidden Run. I don't have Shadow Wardens in here. I do have Dravian Clade, which is normally not a card I like to put on there. But 2 reasons. He's a 6 cost, decent body. Still kind of need that. You still have to have that. The fact that he puts sentence 3 on things is nice, but it works with Nev's ability. Being able to have a sentence target vehicle, draw a card for 8 energy. I can throw this down, deal 5 damage to a vehicle, and draw a card on top of that. Now 5 damage is like a crack grenade that may kill a good variety of vehicles. Could deal 5 damage to a Titan weapon. It's not a bad thing. Might even do that for free because a couple of those shoulder cannons are 0s. So I could drop Clade at 6, hit a shoulder cannon and deal 5 and take 0 damage there. Not a bad. Plus then you followed up with a Curse of the Raven. Yes. 5 damage to all Titan weapons. I'll take it. So I've got him in there. I've got just one more Dathan. I've got the Kalen squad. I've just got 1 Kalen squad. And I've got 2 Mortis. Now these guys are kind of the higher end. They put a threat. They add instant sentence with Mortis. These guys are this is just a great change. Just a great change. But I've got that Corvidaean squad in here. And that's a big change here for me because what I found in my initial dealings with the game was I had the 2 more Dathans, I had 2 Kalens, and I found that between their ability cost, and the time for setup, whether it was Kalen, who's susceptible to flank, Melgator, anything else that can be attacked out there if you don't stealth him, if you don't give him Shadow Walk, and more Dathan, who's a 6 cost, but then if I play him on curve at 7 energy, all I can do is use his ability and play 5 more energy, whether that be 2 from a Solero and 2 from Nev's ability, or a Fear from above and 2 from Nev's ability. It's very limiting. So having a little bit more actions early on in the game is critical, because late on in the game, Nev has taken a lot of the beating. He's got the ability to hide at 1 time with Deliverance. He's got, if you're lucky to get Apothecary Coleman to stick for a turn 2, he's got some healing there, but that's about it. He doesn't have any frontline. This deck doesn't run a lot of frontline, and because a lot of your troops are stealthed or low health, they're not going to present long-term threats. So Nev is going to take a beating. So that early game is very important. Just like with that Alpha Legion, being able to play that Fury from above on that 2nd turn, or 3rd turn, as it were, very important because it puts extra damage on there. Now, if you can get a Corvidaean plus a Numis plus a Curse of the Raven, that's great. That's a lot of damage. It's a little bit harder to do, obviously, because as a combo, you need to have all those cards. And then that brings me to the weaknesses of Nev, and it's he doesn't have the front line. He takes a lot of beating up front. Anything that's got fast, high attacks, aggro, that's frustrating. That's frustrating, and that was one thing that I found when I was having more 4 costs and 5 costs. It was too much. It was, it would lead to close games, but really where that first couple turns made the difference of not having to be able to put anything on the table because of play order. So being able to play Corvidaean, even though I'm not using him, I'm setting up something in my next turn that allows me to do it. But at the same time, I'm still vulnerable to those attacks. And your board is very vulnerable to Artillery Strike, to Informant Network, and to some certain warlords that are very problematic. In the game, presently, Ruinstorm has got Korvax under Blight, right? This guy is a pain for a lot of people who want to run troop support. For a deck like the Raven Guard in general, not just Nev, but Raven Guard in general, your stealth units are good for 1 turn, and then that's it. So, your Numis is not going to do you any good. Your Mordathan is not going to do you any good. They're going to be good for 1 turn, so you need to make it count. So that's a problem. But then you've also got, good old standby neutral. One of my favorites is Captured Mandragorax, and the fact that this guy can, just right from the get-go, shatter any sort of low health stealth guys that you've got, or any sort of low health guys that you've got in general with Solero bikes, the Scimitar jet bikes. There are certain warlords who can really just cause problems for your setup. One such matchup that I had, I think, early on, and it was a couple hard games against Iron Warriors because they could throw up some fortifications, which meant that I had to rely on my unstoppables and my tactics to really apply that easier to go sentence damage on their warlord. But they had that their good old standard two cost, right? They can drop 5th support squad, and that guy just instantly kills the Numa squad, or instantly responds to a jet bike, you know. And so there are certain cards that are not designed as hard counters, but are very problematic and hard countery to the style. It's a very fragile deck, and as a combo deck, combo decks in general are kind of in a fragile state. You've got to have the pieces, you got to play them right? You got to think about it and play them right, and then you really get to capitalize on it. But if something disrupts it, you don't have the piece that you need for your combo, or your opponent disrupts your combination, takes a piece away from the field, it reduces your ability to play a certain card, it's going to cause problems. And those problems are there for Nev. I do think that there are some things that could be done to improve him. We've seen Raven Guard patch come. I don't think we're going to get another Raven Guard patch anytime soon, which is unfortunate because I think we've got a lot. I'd like a little bit more. But I think Nev could deal with high initiative. I think he deserves it. I think he needs it to get those pieces on the board sooner. He used to have high initiative when he first came out, and a lot of people complained because I was also at a time when Corvidae could deal 2 damage. Fury from Above pinged 4 times, not 3 times, which could ramp up your sentenced combination damage a lot sooner. But the game also didn't have several anti-stealth or additional random damage cards, such as Volcanic Instability or certain warlords. So it's a different time. Nev could use high initiative or an additional card in hand. I don't think the additional card in hand would do as much as the high initiative, because you really need to have those pieces in play. But beyond that, the only other thing I could think of would be to give Corvidae Squad here sentenced 2. That seems a lot, but given its low health and the fact that it's generally going to be a one-time usage, I don't think it's a bad idea. I'd like to find a way to make Blindside tag in there, or maybe even the old surprise attack combination. But I think with regards to sentenced, I'd rather have the sentenced tagging on damage than just upping a one-time attack. It's not even, I mean, it's not a one-time attack, but because everybody who's got stealth has got low health, it kind of is. To make that work, one of the cards here in the deck list that I think works really good. Well, there's a couple cards that I think work really good. First off, Rain of Fire. This is a card that had sentence written all over it when it came out, or a way to deal with Survivor, Troops with Survivor 1. Just as a one-of, this is way better than Guerrilla Warfare in Nev. Guerrilla Warfare is a nice card. You get a card draw, you're dealing a little bit more damage, but when you're sentencing with Rain of Fire, it expands that lethal range a lot more so. Also, as I mentioned, Mortis Squad, these guys are just a nice fix, very solid here. And then Dark Fury, I don't play it often, but as a threat, Dark Fury is a very powerful threat in a certain, late game. Your opponent's got low cards in hand, or you know that they've blown several of their stealth removals, and then you throw down Dark Fury, and you have the threat range of dealing that 7 to 10 damage, depending on how you want to play it with your warlord and whatever. That alone can force your opponent to just throw in the towel. So that's really good. Inescapable Cell. I've got 2 in here, and a lot of people might think, you only need 1, and maybe in other Raven Guard decks I can scale it back down to 1. It's nice. But it's very important here with Nev to help me combine the damage, the sentence damage from Fury from Above, reducing the random targets, as well as the random targetization of Torvik Squad, which I've only got 1 in here. I went with taking a Torvik Squad out, giving myself 2 Torviks, and also 2 Corvidans. It was a little bit of a change-up, but I found that it worked a lot more, because if my Numa squads don't show up in my hand, but my Corvidans do, I still have some sentence set up. More importantly, if my Numa squads die second turn, because my opponent plays an Informant Network, I can play Corvidan squad and feel okay, or another Numa squad, and then I've still got Mordathan, and then I've still got Kalen, and then I've still got Mortis. I've got a lot of ways to apply sentenced. Doesn't have to be, but in order to capitalize on cards like Fury from Above, the pings from Curse of the Raven, the ability of Nev, as well as just that high damage at the end of the game from, just throwing down a Mortis with a Mordathan already locked. For 7 energy, you're doing 7 damage to your opponent's warlord if you want. And that's nice. And then you're putting down a 6/4 that they've got to deal with. So it's a good combo. Speaking of which, I think there's a game here that I played that at the end to kind of seal the deal here. It was against Nassau? That's who it was. So we'll go through this one here, and we'll kind of show this one. Now, Nassau can deal direct damage. He can do really high burst damage. This was not a great hand for that. Deliverance was a good card, but I really wanted to get those Corvidans, right? So having the ability to put those cards out is one thing. Timing it is really important. Like Numas, you're going to get immediate value on first turn play, because second turn you can play that out there. Corvidan squad, they're cheap. You're setting something up at the very least for the next turn, but you really want to be able to capitalize when you've got like a Torvik and a Solero bikes in hand. I'm not using him right away. I know at 5 energy, he's not going to be able to play his Auric Mortalis. So I'm going to bank on that, and I'm going to set up as much as possible here what I can. I'm going to give him the option if he wants to first strike or use his ability here to precog, which he does, and that's okay. I baited that out, but I've still got tools set up here. I'm going to set up more of my tools. Now what's he got, right? And he's going to do the Auric Mortalis, but because I've got that Mordathan still alive, I've got a very powerful tool. I've got Solero bikes. I've got Torviks. I'm feeling pretty good about that, the fact that I can deal that damage. He can hide all he wants, but if I can still ping him with my ability and sentenced effects and tactics, then I have the damage that I want to do. And that's exactly what I do here. Boom, 7 damage. And now, unless he's got a way to give himself health or survivor, he does not have the ability to capitalize on that combo that he had set up in his hand, because otherwise that would have been game, right? He would have had that. Unfortunately, he does not. Took that away from him. It's a little pieces like that that change the order of how I played Raven Guard from how I played it with Corax. Corax is a lot more, he can get by using a little piece here, a little piece there, using his ability, sneak in, sneak out. Nev does not have the ability to sneak in and sneak out. So he has to have those pieces, and those pieces have got to be put together right and used right to really become efficient. Again, this isn't a huge like top tier deck. I think there's a couple pieces. If it had a few stronger more things, it would be stronger. But it is a deck that you can play. That's different. That's not Corax. That's not Cherokee. That is Raven Guard, and that feels like Raven Guard. I also took out Jubok. I think if I had to, I would say Raven's Talons is optional. It's a good card. Dravian Clade is optional. It's a nice card. They're both good. They both offer something, but they're not required. A lot of these cards here are rare cards. There's a couple epics in here, but a lot of these cards are rares and commons. So this is a deck that can work. This is a deck that can serve you well. This is a deck that can offer something different if you're not, if you're kind of getting tired and burned out. Again, there are over, you know, at this point, as of tomorrow, there are going to be over 80 plus warlords in the game. You know, we're going to be out of deck slots unless they increase that in the patch Friday. We need those. We need those deck slots, but there's so many here. And it's easy enough for some to get forgotten. I'd like to see Abaddon get played a little bit more than just being a bot deck. I've definitely had my fun and fill with guys like Shabrandar, and he gets a lot of heat, but he actually performs very well. There's just so many warlords out there that are different, that you don't see enough of, but that you can still play with, you can still have fun with, you can still win with, and there's no reason why you shouldn't be. Trying things out. Don't be afraid to try things out. Don't be afraid to test it. I'll tell you what, it was a little bit, like I said, it was a little bit of a learning curve with Nev. I had a couple wins and a couple losses, a couple wins and a couple losses, and then found my groove, made some changes, got a lot more comfortable with it, and then end results there. 12 wins up, six losses down. What is that? Let's just do some quick math. I think that's over 60%. I think that's over 60% win rate. 66% win rate. So, is it not 75? 75% is kind of what you want for a Terra level deck. It's not there, but it's not bad. Could it be better? Sure. A lot more time and practice might make it so. Does it have its holes? It definitely does. And I think every deck has got its holes, but if you're familiar with them and you can find ways to play around them, know what your limitations are, you might find yourself improving that play and making more better use of the cards that are available to you. And I think I certainly did. So, with that being said, guys, I'm going to let you go. I hope that this has been helpful. I hope it gave you a little bit of insight. I was looking forward to getting into the Nev, finally touching him up, seeing what he looked like, how he ran, and I like it. Could he be better? Nev as a warlord could be better. I think the deck might be off by a card or two, but I feel really comfortable with it, and I think it's something that you can check out, tweak it however you need based off of what cards you've got. Make those decisions. It doesn't hurt to try, and you have fun with it at the same time. Don't get frustrated. Have fun. No, rule number one, right? So that's it for me, guys. Until next time, keep playing Legions, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.